All right, that's the actual sync. Ben, could you do another? This is it. The show's gonna start. This is if you're gonna have them. This is why we're gonna start the show.
Start the movie magic.
Roll the intro music. Okay.
Man, that's some good intro music.
There you Beautiful. All right, in 3, 2. Hey guys, welcome back to the Arthritis Podcast, official podcast of digital and creative media works. So each week we take something from pop culture and try to break it down to better understand it. My name is David.
Hi, my name is Ben.
This week, Ben, we're back, baby. We're covering some.
Year.
It's a new year. It's the same us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We haven't changed.
We didn't change.
If anything, like we're more.
The table's different.
Table's different.
I think.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is different.
Yes.
It's been a while.
I don't know what was the last thing. These are all coming out in different order too now because Adam's editing them.
Oh,
so
Jesus Christ.
could be time travel. You might see the old table after
fuck.
this.
That would be disorientating.
Dun, dun. I'm ringing. Hello? Hang on. Hello?
Do you need a key or can you use the back door?
Well, I can't get in the back door.
Okay, right. So
That's
go to the laundry. Right, I can tell you where to get one. Can
Okay.
you follow an instruction?
Yeah, hang on.
Go to the laundry.
Goodbye, David.
No, I can't get into the house.
I mean, you can't get it.
Well, I don't have a screen door.
All right.
I don't really.
Alright.
You silly bugger. Okay,
Well-
bye.
Bye. I ain't doing triple locking doors and shit. Anyhow,
Yeah.
where were we?
We're back, baby.
We're back, baby, with zero interruptions. It was a seamless cut. Nothing happened. We're back, and I thought, New Year, same us. Why not cover something that we've been talking about for a long time, but it's a bit new and fresh and different, and has Henry Cavill in it because this
Sorry,
week
something you've been talking about for a long
something
time.
that I would never shut up about.
Yeah.
We talked about The Witcher 3 before on this program.
Yeah,
A
like
few
twice.
times. Obviously, they've made a TV show because this week we're talking about the world building of The Witcher, which is a 2019 Netflix TV show produced by Lauren Schmidt Hisrich, based on the novels of the same series by Andrzej
Polish names.
Sapkowski. I can't say any of these fucking Polish names.
No.
The long story short of how this came to be is basically Lauren went to Netflix and she was like, "Yo,
The Witcher.
let's make a movie," and they were like, "I don't
Nah.
think so, pal. Let's not make a movie. Let's do something else." She was like, "Okay, cool. What about a little short TV program?" And they were like, "What if the episodes were an hour long?" And then they made it. Because holy crap, these are some long television program episodes.
Well, I think an hour is pretty standard for this kind of televised vision series.
Prestige television.
Prestige television.
What did you think of it going into it? And I guess in contrast with, given that we talked about the games a lot.
It's more like the books. I have a vague understanding of the books.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read them, but I've through cultural osmosis, I understand what the books are.
Mm-hmm.
And I also understand that the games are just nothing like the books. And the games are more of just, I don't know, like they decide, hey, let's do this story. And then they do it. Whereas the books are nothing like that. The books are basically an anthology series.
Yep, they're kind of unrelated narratives that, similar to the TV show, I guess, in some ways, where like the books build a bunch of narratives over time and then eventually some of them connect and like some characters reappear. The TV show kind of does that, and then in the last episode, it's like, fuck it, this is all one continuity, you're welcome.
That's kind of what the games do as well.
Definitely.
The games kind of act as taking all these characters from the anthology series and just chucking them into the one world.
And just seeing what happens.
Yeah, and like putting a story that kind of makes sense as to why, Triss and Yennefer are together again.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, okay. And this TV series does the same thing where it's like Triss and Yennefer. You're like, I guess.
Yeah, you're like, I can see that. I think it's trying to do a Westworld thing, which we'll talk about a little bit later, where it wants you to be like, when are the things happening? And you kind of put the puzzle pieces together. But to what extent it does that and succeeds, I don't know, which is kind of what I want to talk about. But let's get through the summary. Look, I really enjoyed this. I was pretty cold on it the first 2 episodes. I found that first episode really
God, that
just
first episode
rough.
sucked.
Yeah, and then
It's
episode
not
2, I was
great.
like, ooh, cool.
The bit that turned me off about the first episode was like that big fight they had. But they were like, we're gonna show the war, or we're gonna show a war, one of the wars.
And you're like, why do I care?
Compared to like I don't know, like Lord of the Rings is probably the closest comparison. It's like every shot in that like war scene was just like, all right, what's a cool, kooky, violent way we can have someone die, and then let's just like supercut them all together. Compared to like stuff like Lord of the Rings, where it's just like a general mashing of bodies. It's like you can't really see what's going on, but like at least you're not getting whiplash every cut.
Yeah.
At least you're not going like,
But it gets to the point where you're like, why do I care about this?
Yeah.
This is still happening. Like, it keeps going. And this show has a lot of that in it where you're like, okay, let's move on to the next thing. And it's like, oh no, there's 20 more minutes of this.
Yeah, most of the combat in this show is not good.
We'll get to that. All right, summary time. Okay, because I'm like, we want to get
Overall,
into
I
this.
think it was good.
Yeah, I had a good time with
Put
it.
that in here. I didn't
think it was bad.
I thought it was fun.
It was fun. I had a good time.
Past the second episode, once it actually started going.
Once
it
the
was
show
good.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was
But
good.
I think, for a non-Witcher audience, like just a regular Netflix audience, like it's also a really good way to get...
starts better than Game of Thrones starts.
Yeah, which is
So
not
it's-
saying much.
No, but it does.
Yeah, and I also think it gives you a really good, solid lead into, like, if you want to get invested in this world. Like, it gives you enough backstory without it being like, and here's what Camoran is, and then, like, where the games are like, you have a dialogue option to be like, explain that whole thing to me. And it's like,
Yeah.
it kind of avoids that, I think, quite well.
Well, even this, it's, they poke fun at the exposition dumps with, there's a line from, God, what's his character's name? The Bard Boy.
Jaskia.
Where he's just-
Jaskia.
Yeah,
Jaskia?
whatever his
Jaskia.
name is.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, look at me going on expositioning again.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Which I think is making fun of Dandelion in the games. So, Geralt of Rivia is a pariah, cast out of human society in Temeria and abroad due to his mutations. Geralt is a witcher, a mutated freak, stolen at birth and taught to hunt and kill monsters and alike in Kaer Morhen. We join Geralt in Blaviken, where he contends with Renfri, a cursed princess turned bandit, hunted by the wizard Stregobor. Geralt defeats Renfri and her plan and is cast out from Blaviken, now known as the Butcher. Meanwhile, Nilfgaard conquers Sintra, and Princess Cirilla flees into hiding as the city burns. Hunchback Yennefer of Vengerberg of Aedern is sold to Tissaia de Vries and forced into learning magic at the fortress of Aretuza, failing at almost every step of the way. While she does manage to make up some ground with the help of her compatriot Istrid, the two grow close. Elsewhere, Geralt is hired to investigate grain being stolen in Posada. Geralt is reluctantly accompanied by Jaskia the Bard. Geralt meets Filavandrel, the Elven King, and manages to escape with his life. The series then follows Geralt's individual adventures over a 30-year period as he tackles monsters, his growing fame, and his rejection from society. Geralt finds himself claiming the Law of Surprise as a joke, but accidentally ends up with a claim to Princess Pavetta's daughter, the eventual heir to the Cintran Empire. Years later, Jaskia and Geralt discover a djinn in the lake, but their plans are railroaded by Yennefer, who intends to use the djinn to restore her ability to have children. Sometime later, Jaskia, Yen, and Geralt join a dragon hunt, and along the way, Geralt and Yennefer grow closer. Once Geralt and Yen have defended the dragon, Geralt reveals his third wish was to intertwine his fate with Yennefer's, and she leaves, furious. In the distant forests, Ciri escapes a doppelganger. Hello.
So Alex is 100% sure he doesn't have a screen door key for the front, and I'm 100% sure he does.
That's okay.
So he's going to come round in about 20 minutes or something to see if he does.
Uh-huh.
And if he does, he's going to open up and give you the key for the back fly screen door that's on the ramp.
Okay. Sounds good.
That way you can lock up when you go.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yep. Sounds good. Thank you.
Otherwise, if you need to pee, you're going to have to go to the pub.
Yep. All good.
Or at least Laura is, anyway.
Yep. All good.
The rest of you can just pee in the garden.
Yeah, this is true.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Bye.
I don't know how that happened. I don't know how you don't have a front fly screen door.
I don't, because it's by the, it doesn't matter.
Oh, you put yours by the front door?
Yeah, because I never use the front door.
You see, I only ever use the front door to get in and out now.
Uh-huh. That's all good.
Interesting. Okay, well, I'm convinced Alex has a key. He's totally convinced he doesn't, so fuck no. We'll see.
We'll work it out.
Okay.
All right.
Happy days.
Ta.
Bye.
Bye. It's been a journey. Okay. In the distant forest, Ciri escapes a doppelganger sent to capture her. Sometime before, Nilfgaard are poised to invade Sintra, and Geralt invokes his Law of Surprise to claim Ciri and protect her during the invasion. Geralt is consequently imprisoned by King Tursich. That's a lot of Polish names, guys. Yen returns to Aretuza, and the wizards argue over whether or not they should step in and stop Nilfgaard. Yen reluctantly agrees to join Triss, Tissaia, and the others who will fight for Sintra. Meanwhile, just before the present, Queen Calanthe realizes Geralt was right and wishes to send him and Ciri away, but Geralt has already escaped his cell. Later, Ciri is set upon by old citizens of Sintra, but she defends herself with her powers. In the present, Yenna the Mages reinforce Sodden Hill, blocking Nilfgaard from invading the north. Geralt escapes Sintra and comes across a man burying dead refugees. Geralt saves the man from necrophages, but is injured and passes out. Nilfgaard attacks, both sides using magic to inflict huge casualties. Tissaia fails to talk Fringilla down. Elsewhere, Geralt wakes to find himself on the cart on the way to the man's farm. Yen flees the battlefield when Vingerfortz turns out to be a turncoat. Geralt and Ciri meet in the forest behind the farm, and Ciri asks, who is Yennefer? Credits. Stitched together, it's like, there's just a lot going on.
It's hard, like, going episode by episode. In the moment, it makes a lot of sense.
I think it's that lack of chronology. I considered rewriting the whole thing to just be like in chronological order, but I think the time jumps and stuff like that make it particularly interesting.
I think it's done really well. It's almost that it's almost similar to Final Space. You don't know what's going to happen because you don't know what order things happen in. But once you get to like the last few episodes and things start getting real close and you're like, hang on a minute, like we're like days apart now, or like we're like minutes apart. Yeah, what is going on?
How are we gonna get there? Why aren't we there yet? Yeah, it definitely has that vibe. But I think this one's kind of cool though, because it feels like what you was talking about before, which is like a series of kind of not interconnected, but just like stories about these people's lives that eventually coalesce into like eventually they cross paths at the end. Which is like the games do a similar thing. You're right, but I think to a different effect where the games almost want it to be like, I don't know what the word for it is, but they want the interconnected narratives to kind of slide along. The side quests kind of slot into the main quests as you do them. Yeah. Where there's a lot of like interactivity between them, where if you do a side quest and you do a main quest, it's going to change certain things depending on the order and stuff.
Yeah, the Witcher 3 is very much about like, you're not meant to just blast through the main quest. Partly because you'll hit a wall and be like, this is hard.
Video games are hard.
And the game will just tell you, do some side quests, you goddamn idiot.
It spanks you down. It's like, go hunt some monsters, you idiot. Yeah, earn some money.
And I guess, like, you know, the overarching idea is that you know that Ciri is trying to find Geralt and Geralt's trying to find Ciri.
Yeah.
And so most of the Ciri narrative is just kind of moving her around the place. Most of her kind of stuff is sort of backstory for the Nilfgaards.
It ends up being weirdly non-consequential for like her. So it gives you a lot of insight into like what they've done to the world and stuff like that, which I think is an important characterization of Nilfgaard in this, because they kind of they're your kind of empire, if you will. They're like the baddies. For one of
they're literally the Empire from Star Wars.
Literally, yeah. Which is like fine. I mean, they're given some more nuance because you get Fringilla, who's like, nah, dog, like, we're all from the same order. Like, this is what you fucking ordered me to do. If it wasn't for Yennefer, this wouldn't have happened. So, like, that interconnectedness of the fate as well, where it's like, it's kind of Yennefer's fault all of this has happened.
So it's like Star Wars Episode 3 Empire.
Exactly. That's exactly right. But then they also want to have it the Westworld way, where it's like that non-linearity, where the payoff is you piece it all together, and you step back and you're like, oh my God, like, now I understand that all of this couldn't have happened any other way.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad it's not totally non-linear, where it's three storylines that run at different paces, and they're all going from start to finish. Mm-hmm. They just run at different paces, and they all end up at the same point at the same time. Mm-hmm. So you've got Geralt's story, which is, a few decades. Yeah. Where it's released a fairly long time.
It's about 30 years.
I know Yennefer's is about 30 years. Is Geralt's 30 years?
Implication is
that Yennefer's is a long time.
The earliest one we see of Geralt is when he's with Filavandrel, and that's supposedly 30 years before Nilfgaard invade. So that's supposed to be happening concurrently with Yen being scooped up from the farm.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the show it more gestures at that. There's no real way or reason for that to actually matter in the context of the story.
Yeah, and I think that the strongest bit of the series is just Geralt's doing his adventures. Like
definitely.
Like
just doing quests.
Yeah, because series stuff is it's mainly backstory for Nilfgaard, which doesn't really matter until the last two episodes. Yennefer's sort of origin, which is like one episode.
Yeah.
Like it happens
It's
across...
a single episode.
It's like a single episode where it's just like Yennefer goes from pre to post whatever the fuck that in the middle there was. Mageification.
She becomes a mage.
Yeah. Like that's just like one episode. It's a pretty rough episode.
It's rough. That's a long, grueling episode. Yeah, it's pretty good though.
And like so that just kind of happens, and then she just kind of bounces in and out with Geralt for a few episodes. The main part is Geralt's story, and that, because it's, I don't know where I'm going with this point. But it's the fact that it's not like a linear, and there's like indistinct times between each occurrence, kind of makes it feel a bit more interesting, especially with like the Jin episode.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of fun because it's like Geralt's just out doing whatever, and then Jasko just comes up. He's just like, "Hey, old buddy," and Geralt, he's like, "It's been a while," and Geralt says nothing. Yeah, Geralt doesn't bat an eyelid.
It's like, fuck me, this guy. But there's something about Geralt, just watching him go out and do shit that is so... I'm going to say this once. Henry Cavill is great casting for this.
Oh yeah, he's phenomenal.
He's fucking perfect in this role.
When they announced the casting, I was like, what? And then when they showed photos of him, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I like it.
It's when he's moving on screen, it's fine.
It's when he's in, and like the voice, and like, oh my lord, he is a phenomenal.
My only complaint is no beard.
Well, he's meant to be young.
Yeah, but
like that, like again, like you have
but it's frustrating because it's annoying because Henry Cavill has such a distinct chin that every time that I see,
you just see Superman.
I just see Henry Cavill wearing a wig. Sometimes, by and large, it works for me because he does have. It's his body language that is just like. It's so fucking perfect. I don't know. He nails this performance.
Yes.
Never mind the Joker. This is performance of the year for me. There's something about it because I mean, Geralt. I was just trying to unpack it when I was doing this research. I was like, what makes Geralt so interesting? Because one of the things that happens in the games is when you're playing him, he's very entertaining to play because he's just this nihilistic like.
Old dude.
Pretty much a crotchety old man, but what if you still had superpowers and could kill whoever you wanted to?
Yeah.
So there's like this empowerment of like, you can be crotchety and sarcastic and shitty,
it's
but
kind of similar to like Snake in a lot of the Metal Gear games, especially like 4, the one where you are old. But yeah, it's that kind of like, you're playing this old dude who could like snap your neck, but it's not really like shown. He's not like showing his power level in a sense. He's kind of just like, he's this, grouchy old guy who just goes around like kicking ass and taking names.
And could do so at any time.
Yeah.
But then I think there's also something to his like, there's an interesting recodifying of his character in this versus the game. So like, one thing the games do weirdly is because they're not Western necessarily, like they're not like Western RPGs exactly. They're a blend in some ways. There's an element of like the moralism in it that doesn't exist. No one ever stops Geralt and it's like, whoa, don't you think that was a bit sexist? Like there's none of those conversations in the game because it's more concerned with like moralism in context of the story. So like Geralt saves citizens rather than, letting them die, and that's like a good thing to do. So it's very like, it's like centralist in its morals, and Geralt as a character, I think, in this show in particular, is really interesting because they spend a lot of the first 2 episodes letting you know the kind of person he is. To the point where in the first episode, that's part of what turned me off, was they kept having the lesser evil conversation. Like they have it like 3 times. And so I'll hit you with the dilemma they give you in that first episode. And I just want you to tell me what you think of whether or not it works, because I know that they're beating you over the head with a hammer with it, but like, so the what I'm getting to here is the first episode of the show, which is the one that we liked the least, is based on the short story The Lesser Evil of the same name. And it's a particularly interesting dilemma, and then it's retreaded in the following episode with the Elf King, right? But so in this first episode and in the short story, the setup is simple. So Renfri is this bandit leader who is cursed, and there's a mage in town who's like, yo, Geralt, go murk her. She's cursed. She's bad news. Killing her is the lesser evil. Like letting her live is the greater evil. Go and do this murder. It's better for everyone. Everyone's going to be safer, right? Yeah. Geralt then goes to Renfri and he's like, he's asked me to do this. What's up with that? And she's like, he's the real monster. He's using this curse he's invented as an excuse to kill me. Yeah. Because he can't control me. We're bandits. We're just out here saving people and shit. She's got like a real Robin Hood thing going on. Right. Then because it's The Witcher, they bang, which is not part of the moral conundrum, but it's
just happens.
It's part of the franchise, baby. Yeah. So Renfri's plan, Geralt works out, is to massacre townsfolk, or to threaten to massacre townsfolk, because Stregobor is bound by the laws to come out and protect the townsfolk. That's his job.
Right.
So her plan is, I'm going to kill this greater evil by hurting some innocent folk or threatening to hurt them, and then kill this guy. So it's like her version of lesser evil.
Right.
And they're both like, hey, Geralt, pick a lesser evil. And he's like, you're both idiots. This is dumb.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pick a fucking lesser evil. You both suck. But ultimately, he stands between Renfri and the townspeople. And I guess like the moral question that this episode tries to pose, but isn't really a moral question at all, is like, is it more moral to kill innocents to take down the greater evil? Or is it more moral to allow the greater evil to live and save the innocents? Which is what happens, theoretically. Because Stregobor is like bad news. But so is Renfrey. So it's like, it wants to have it both ways, where then the next episode, it's like, hey, remember that moral conundrum that you thought was really interesting? Here it is again, except this time with elves. And it's like, I got to the end of the second episode, and I was like, I get it. Geralt's a moral relativist. I get it, okay? I get that he's doing his own thing. He doesn't care about good and evil. He's not Superman. I get it. But it just felt like so heavy-handed.
I was just like blinded in that first episode because they just made it super obvious that it was just like, oh, he's in Blaviken. Oh, okay, this is where this thing happens. Played the game, yeah, it's like, I know. Well, Laura told me. But she was like, hey, you know what the witch is called? I was like, what? She was like, the Butcher of Blaviken. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he is. Oh, this is where this is going.
Different reason in the games, but still interesting.
Yeah.
It's does that stuff work, though? Because a lot of the show is based on Geralt as, like, we talk about it a lot because it's just like coming up again and again. But like, he is that kind of like nihilistic relativist where he's like, I have my own. He's like the cowboy gunslinger. I got my own set of rules, my own code.
I think it's like them presenting it is like, I think a bit kind of on the nose. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm gonna break our rule and I'm gonna bring up Rick and Morty again.
We're gonna go, folks.
But it's kind of similar. Like, so like Rick and Morty brings up these kind of like moral kind of things on occasion. But what Rick and Morty does, it uses its characters to make just a very clear decision. Rick will just like make a choice and will just like act on it immediately. And I feel like Geralt in the later episodes, they very much characterize it where it's just like he would just make the choice pretty quickly. Like
there's almost like instincts.
Yeah, to the point where it's, and like, you know, maybe it's character growth where it's like later on he like learns how to just, you know, not get swept up in like petty politics and just make a decision.
Kinda, but then at the same time, like,
but it's hard when you're not seeing that growth in real time. You're seeing like segments. It's like I would have preferred it if like he made these, like they presented these choices and he immediately just chose one to show to the show to the viewer. The audience. Geralt knows what he's about. You don't have to, you know, you as the viewer don't have to like make the choice with Geralt. Like, he's not meant to be like a stand-in for you, the viewer. He's meant to be a character.
He's doing his own thing. Yeah. Which definitely, like, that one choice I'm thinking of in particular is when he's got the last wish with the djinn, and he wishes for like his and Yen's fates to be intertwined or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's like literally like a split-second decision. There's no time to make it. And he has to do something.
Yeah. So and you don't find out about it until like, ages. Yeah.
And that's the kind of decision making that I like in this show, where as a character you don't always necessarily understand his motivations or the how and the why of what drives him to do what he does, but when the outcome, when you find out, okay, this is how things played out, this is how everything turned out in the end, it feels like everything Geralt does has a reason behind it.
Yeah, except for the first episode. Where it's just like he's walking around the tutorial area going like, what do I want to do? Do I want to do this? It's the tutorial episode.
It's the episode you cut. It's the first episode of Firefly. Like, cut that shit. There's that. Maybe keep
It's him walking through Tutorial Island, figuring out how to play RuneScape for the first time. The year is now 2006.
It's them being like, so witches are basically guns for hire. Yeah. Sorceresses are this. There are curses and fate is real.
And like the second episode's better because you have Jaskier. And like he is more of a stand-in.
He's more of a chorus, right, for the audience.
Yeah,
in some ways.
Because he's easy to identify with because, you know, even when like his introduction is really good because it's like, you've already had an episode, and then you're in this scene where it's just like he's skulking in the back of the bar, and it's like Jesco goes up and like, you know, gives him the old fucking rub and tub and whatever, and it's like you're like, yes, that's exactly what I need right now. I need someone to give Geralt sass.
Give him the
because he's not my entry to he's not the viewer's entry to the series. Like if anything, Jasko is.
He doesn't really have a place in the more serious parts of the story, but then I think
he helps drive the time jumps. Like he helps move forward the idea that like there's been a lot of time between each of the episodes because Geralt isn't going to be like, oh, it's been 10 years since blah blah blah. Like Geralt's not going to say that.
No.
So you have this kind of underlying idea where it's just like Geralt's becoming famous.
Yes.
Because he's making all these songs and he's telling the tales and like
it works pretty well
in later episodes when like he's with that lady in the bed.
The brothel woman.
Yes, and she's like looking at all this guys. She's like, "Oh, I know why you have this one."
Yeah, it's
and
pretty cool.
At first, you're like,
Does she know?
he's like, "Why does she know?" And then you're like, "Oh, because it's probably been like 5 years, and bloody Bard Boy's off telling the tales."
It's a cool way of visually communicating a lot about that character without. I think the inverse of that is like showing all those adventures. I liked that we didn't see a lot of that, but then the show's biggest strength is those standalone adventures. So I don't know.
Yes.
I
don't know, because like...
I'm in two minds about it. Yeah, let's get to the fighting.
Yeah,
I know it's going to be you're going to have beef with it.
The show opens with like... It's not a fight, it's just like a presentation of Geralt's prowess as a monster killer.
Yeah.
Like, it's not really choreographed, and it's against a fully CG thing. So like, those, I just immediately throw them out the windows. Like, they don't matter. CG fights are always shit.
Also, we don't know what this thing could do, so how do we have any relative
The
merit?
first... like real fight you see is that big war, which again, it's just a series of shots of people getting like, it's just a series of like fucking Skyrim executions.
Yeah, it's a bunch of cool slow-mo cuts.
It's literally just a series of Skyrim executions, and it's really weak. And it's also got like inaccuracies, like people just cutting through armor and stuff. You're like, yeah, okay, whatever, get that shit out of here. You've got where he butchers and Blaviken.
Come on, the street fight, okay.
And it's just so bad because there's so many missed opportunities where it's like, you know, they're presented all this cool stuff where it's just like, oh, he's able to reflect arrows. He does it once in the entire show. You know, I like lost count of how many guys there were. Like, I was like, they're just like more guys just kept coming.
Yeah.
And then it was just like at the very end, he just kills the guy with the crossbow, and you're like, oh yeah, that guy with the crossbow that did nothing in the fight except for fire the first bolt.
I think
and
that
was it.
Definitely the weakest.
It's like the weakest one. Honestly, the best fight scene in this entire series is like the last episode where he breaks out of the jail and he goes out into the street, and there's just like a series of 4 guys, and he just dispatches them one after the other. Like that one, like it's like a 4-second thing.
Okay.
I went back to it like
so
3
good.
times. It was so good.
So you know how like it's that whole idea of you have a character who is extremely powerful in contrast to everyone else.
Yeah.
But when they get into a fist fight, it's like, you know, they have to give everyone 10 punches and then they fall down or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't just immediately dispatch them. There's a moment in The Dark Knight where it's in Bruce Wayne's penthouse and the Joker breaks in and Bruce Wayne has to go into his safe room to get into the Bat costume.
Yeah.
And there's a Joker thug or whatever walks up to him. He's like, oh, fucking Bruce Wayne, I got you. And Bruce Wayne, without breaking stride, takes the guy's gun, knocks him out, dismantles the gun, and keeps walking. It doesn't hesitate. And it's just this moment of like pure demonstration of this guy can do this. He can take people apart. That moment for me, I was like, that's what that first episode needed. Not a 10 guy street fight. Give me 3 guys who, you know, maybe we see them overpower some civilians and we're like, oh, these guys seem pretty tough. And then he just swells through them.
And it's what you see a lot in the games where, so the way the games do their animation is all of the normal people, all of their animations are fairly realistic. So they pretty much just went to people who do HEMA and just went, hey, swing this sword for me. And just mocap them.
Yeah.
And so like all the polearm stuff, all of the longsword stuff, like it's all pretty sort of like realistic. And then they're like, all right, bring in the gymnasts, let's mocap Geralt.
We gotta,
and so like,
give me some flips.
It's like Geralt's stuff is all like super flippy and stuff, and the game presents it as a way to show like the difference between normal people and people who have mutations.
It's also got a really important gameplay function where it lets you do that Batman thing of moving around the battlefield very quickly
you have the Batman
without gliding.
Yeah. And so you've got that, and then like the first time we have Geralt fighting, you don't really see it. Partly because I don't know why they didn't just one take that first fight. I was thinking they were gonna, it was like I was expecting the one take. After
Daredevil, why
like
not?
Post Daredevil,
we can do it.
Yeah, it's like on
budget.
They showed they could do it because they did it in the second last episode. Like,
yeah, that's the weird thing.
They showed they could do the one take,
and it was good.
It was really good for about 4 seconds.
I wonder if it depends. You know what I think it is? I think maybe because the show's non-linear. I wonder if the shot sequencing is non-linear too. So who knows when they shot what? So it might have been they did that one take at the start when they had the budget, and then they were like, well, rest of the combat's going to be lots of cuts.
Well, it could have just been like they weren't comfortable doing a full fight. Because the first fight, the Butcher Blaviken, like he takes out, like it's meant to be like him against like 10 guys, and it's meant to be like him like butchering them. So meant to be like a big deal. Whereas in the second last episode, it's like he's in a war zone and there's just some guys. He just has to dispatch them.
It's more point A to point B.
It's less story focused, which almost makes me feel like, then why is the editing better on the bit that doesn't matter?
It's, you know what it probably is? Probably like the director's like, I don't know, just do whatever.
They were probably just like, yeah, just kill those 4 guys or whatever.
Okay, but here's the thing though. The ending of that fight in the street when he fights Renfrey is quite good. When it's just him and her, and they're just kind of one-on-oneing.
Yeah, it's pretty... And again, that has a lot of the stuff where it's like, they're both just doing flippy shit.
And it really gives you contrast of like, he's not better than her, he just... I think
both
that's...
mutated.
It's that Dark Souls thing of like, it's funner to watch 2 people who have the similar abilities fight.
The problem is that when he's fighting her, there are cuts, but like, it's pretty well choreographed and it's pretty well shot. So you can kind of see what's happening. But when he's fighting the multiple guys, it's kind of choppy. It's not cut very well. So you can't really see what's going. So it's harder to contrast it. If there was a scene where it was like him versus a skilled sword fighter who wasn't a mutant.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you can see like, oh, this guy is just kind of like trying to block all these crazy spins. Maybe Geralt does a spin and the guy does like, yeah, okay, and just like nicks him on the arm.
Yeah.
And the Geralt goes, oh, I can't really just spin against this guy. He knows what he's doing.
Serious
and he gets serious, and then it sort of becomes like a more like sort of good fight scene.
It's kind of expecting that, and it just never really happens.
Yeah, probably because the Nilfgaards are just fucking horrible in this series. They look hard. They look okay.
Yeah, okay. Can we talk about
the nutsacks?
They look bad.
They look like wrinkly nutsacks.
It's not good.
It's just really bad.
I get it. Why are they all bald? The games get away with having people be very stylized, where like you can tell someone is from Skellige because of the beard and the weird hairdresses and shit. You can tell someone's Nilfgaardian because they have the armor and the pinched noses and stuff.
I think they were like, maybe they were just worried that, you know, if they've got people wearing full suits of armor and then people wearing full suits of armor but with a slightly different colored like thing, people would get confused, which that would be me. I would 100% be confused by that. But I would have preferred it over the wrinkly nutsacks that we got.
They also established earlier on that Sintra Knights have a particular uniform. They spent a whole fucking episode on showing us like 25 Sintra Knights and being like, this is what a Sintra Knight dresses like. And they had the steel breastplate and the dark cape.
It, like in a weird sort of like backwards way, when Geralt had those Cintran assassins sent after him when he meets Mage Boy. I was like, aren't those Cintran Knights?
Yeah,
like, what's the deal? It was the kind of thing where it's just like,
yeah, they were dressed in that Sintra Knight armor.
Aren't they meant to be Nilfgaard? They're the baddies or whatever. Because I was like catching up. My brain was like turning the gears. It probably would have made more sense if it was like the Nilfgaards wear like their black plate, the Cintrans wear their white plate, and then these assassins wear the nutsack armor, and maybe give them like a flag. It's that language that people are used to, and like people are used to the whole like, oh, they're wearing black, they're probably the baddies. But it's like in the game, they're just wearing black plate.
In the game, it's just convenient for them to wear black. Like, not all Nilfgaardians do. I guess that's true. Like, yeah, that filmic language does come apart in some of the smaller moments. But I think by and large, like, if you're talking about adapting a book to a TV show, because that's what this is, not really an adaptation of the game, and yet it is. That's where this. I think that's where that language falls apart.
I think it is an adaptation of the book, but like so are the games. So I think my thing with the whole Nilfgaard thing is like, you didn't have to do what the game did, because they didn't. But it's like, the game exists, and the fact that the sort of visual language of the game is so much more... It's not confusing, it looks so much nicer. Like, in a world that is so well developed around this sort of esoteric, like, semi-realistic... You know, it's like sort of dark fantasy, kind of like, it's not like high fantasy,
it's
like wizards and shit.
It's low fantasy.
Yeah. When you've got, you know, people just wearing plate armor, because that's what would have defended them. And then you've got bloody nutsack armor. You're
it's
like,
just like,
it's falling. It felt like Aragon almost.
That's a really interesting comparison, because there were some moments in this where
there's some weird nutsack armor in Aragon.
It's a lot of weird design. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about the one of the best scenes in this fucking television program, which is Geralt in the abandoned house hunting the creature. I can't think of what the creature is called.
Princess.
Yeah. And that's just fucking terrifying. I hated every second of that. It was just like, I was like, I don't want to be here. I was watching
that was like a good fight scene.
It was so good.
Like, that was engaging. That was like what I wished the start of the first episode was, where he's fighting that weird spider thing.
Oh, honestly, they should have
It's
put
just
that.
like seeing a full like beginning to end fight
And seeing
or
him,
like hunt.
the coolest part was seeing him plan the hunt. Now you understand
Down the
his plan.
potions.
Then you understand he does the okay, now this is his plan. Plan falls apart.
You realize you're
What
like,
does
oh,
he
that's
do?
why his eyes are black.
And then it's like everything falls into play. And he uses the signs were very underutilized, by the way. His magic, the signs, I was expecting more of.
I was expecting like a reveal of Ignis.
I was waiting for Igni, and I was like, it didn't happen.
Igni, yeah.
Because that's the
Weirdly
one.
enough, Igni came from
That's the one that
from Yen.
that he doesn't use in the books, mostly because it's fucking horrifying to set someone on fire.
Yeah.
So I was expecting maybe in a moment of anger he
just pops it,
But,
or in a moment of just like last chance.
it's the last.
Basically, what Yennefer did.
So yeah, kind of, but it just didn't happen. I was like, okay, whatever. But that
I think it was almost in a sense. I was just like I was fine with it because again, I think they were trying to aim low on that fantasy level,
Yeah.
and they were just trying to say like he's got mutations. Like potions had a big part in this, a lot more than like in the games.
that's
Arguably,
because the games, it's like
it's a small thing in the
Also,
games,
like,
but it's a big thing.
also like. Don't fucking at me, the people that only play potion builds. I know it's an option, but you need like a fucking encyclopedia, okay?
Yeah, it's
do that.
it's a big deal in the first two games.
Please don't add us. It can be in the
It
third
can
one.
be in the third one.
We
but
get it.
You can just Dark Souls the third game.
Yeah, you can Dark Souls it, which is the fun version of it. But oh no, what have I done? But no, that scene in particular, I just wanted to like the execution of how that all comes together, and then when you finally realize at the end what his actual plan was,
Yeah.
which is to get himself in the car. I was like, really cool and interesting, and like had to trap it in the same room. Like really, really interesting execution of if you were in this world, this is how you'd hunt these monsters.
And then the connection they make between him and the princess.
Yeah.
Where it's just like they're both kind of monsters in their own way.
pretty cool.
Maybe Geralt's the monster after all.
Maybe we're
you
all
know?
monsters. Who
Yeah.
knows? We're not, but he definitely is. But it does work, I think, on a lot of levels. And the things that it did well, I really wanted this to be Daredevil in a lot of ways, where I wanted it to find those things it did well and go, this is the style. Not doing the, like whether it's the one shots or those monster sequences, like tap into that stuff and really like make the most of it. And I guess maybe they're gonna do more for sure because this got a lot of eyeballs, but I'd like to see more of that really interesting stuff.
The group fighting scenes, like, and even fuck me, the episode where they defend the dragon, and it's like,
Yeah.
he's just fighting a bunch of goons. I was like, this is boring.
Yeah.
Like,
I like seeing Yennefer just use a sword and murk dudes, but like it didn't.
I would have liked it if you could see it.
Again, we get it. If you're shooting with people that aren't trained fighters, do it properly. Take the time. If you can afford it on the set.
Ask CD Projekt Red who they got to do the fight scenes for the game
it's tricky.
and get those people to
You
train
never know
them.
what the budget is, so like it's always hard. But
There are some legitimately well researched fight choreographers, especially for sword fights. There's a guy in Australia, I forget his name. He's from Sydney. He's like phenomenal. He's like he's been at a few events. I've mentioned them before. Seems like Alex something.
Yeah.
But he runs like a sword fight stage fighting kind of scene in Sydney, and he's like phenomenal. Like he knows his stuff. He did bloody Duel of Fates.
Yeah.
And it's like fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
Like you
real
can do flippy
There are
crazy
options.
shit, have it like present well.
Yeah.
Just do Duel of Fates again.
Do that again.
just cut out
Just do
all
that
of the
again.
fight scenes and just pull in Duel of Fates.
But don't put the double lightsaber in the trailer. Thank you.
No.
Um.
And then and
That
then
was
not
the-
show it.
And,
You can't show us a cool lightsaber and then not have them fight with it.
anyway.
Ah!
Anyway. We have to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for this week?
Shit. Spider-Man on PS4, I guess. I finished it. at
Oh,
the
cool.
time.
Did you
Yeah.
100% that boy?
I'm not 100% at it. I know. I saw the 100% reward. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to have to 100%
It's
it.
pretty good.
But I'm at the point where it's like the only things I haven't done are the combat arenas. And like,
They're annoying.
yeah,
That's like-
I'm not
yeah.
super into the combat
No.
arenas.
That's like-
I've done I did all the backpacks, I did
That's
all
the
the
fun stuff.
caught all the pigeons.
All the
I did all
traversal
the
stuff is the fun stuff.
yeah, like I did all the research labs. Like they're all a lot of fun.
Nah,
But,
you don't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
That's a good video game.
I'm annoyed that all the DLC focuses on
Black Cat,
Silver
Cat, Black Cat.
whatever her name is, and like none of it deals with the fact that we have Miles Morales now. Like both Miles Morales and Peter Parker as Spider Boys in the same universe. I'm just fucking fuming that they haven't continued that.
Okay.
Because that's literally, I was like so goddamn excited when I saw that spider bite Miles Morales. I was like, fucking sign me up. Then they do nothing with it.
They might do.
They might do. What?
Huh?
What?
You maybe need to play the DLCs, man.
I just looked at the titles. It's like Silver whatever.
You gotta play 'em.
Ah, fuck. Okay.
Sorry, pal.
There's like 3 of them, aren't there?
Yeah, you gotta play 'em. Yeah, I've been what have I been doing? I'm checking my Netflix. Oh, I've been watching You season 2, which is out, which is as confronting as the first.
Oh, yeah, I changed your Netflix profile pics.
Yeah, well, because I changed yours. Yeah,
I hope you enjoyed that.
Oh, I've been rewatching The Get Down actually.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Dude, that honestly is
Really
aged even better than I remember.
Ooh, I might have to rewatch it.
It's aged like fine wine. Like it really is better than I remember. Okay. So good. Like there's so much stuff in it.
We thought it was pretty good.
We thought it was great, but there was so much stuff in it that I didn't notice before.
Okay.
And just like the production of it all, where like the whole show is basically like set to a beat. It's just
all right.
Man,
I'll rewatch it
because I watched that on my iPad last time. I was watching it on a TV this time with like a sound system and stuff. So much better. Yeah. Like it's honestly that shit's like a movie. Like it's so good. And then I've been replaying The Witcher 3 as a result of this research.
Yeah, as is like everyone apparently. It broke its concurrent user record like the day the show came out.
I've been playing it on PS4 because it was I bought it when it was like $4. Yeah, I was like, get bang, go buy it. It's like $2, whatever. Still better than I remember. I'm definitely going to waste a lot of my life replaying that game.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's all I got. If you want to follow us and support us, we're Dcm.Works everywhere. The best place to go to find links out to everything is Dcm.Works. And the best way to support us is to go to patreon.com/DCMWorks. Get access to all kinds of behind-the-scenes content. We'll be putting up a bit of a new Patreon video, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks. A bit about sort of what our plan is for this year and kind of some of the rewards we've got coming up and things like that. Get early access to things like the post show, video essays, all kinds of stuff. We're going to be trying out some new formats pretty soon, so we'll be posting those there first to get some feedback. Because we have some changing conditions, which
things are happening.
We'll make a video about it on the Patreon, but check that out. You also get access to the post show, which is usually sort of an extra 20 minutes where we talk about extra things we missed or just whatever it's been on our mind that week. We're going to bring that back in a different format probably as well. But for the time being, best place to go to support us is patreon.com/DCMWorks. Big thanks to Joep Coumans, still our top patron. Thanks, Joep. Looking out. Otherwise, if you want to follow us individually, I'm at DCM I Hate Pie.
I'm at Literal Citrus.
I'll see you guys next week.
Let's do a half-hour one for Death Stranding. I am hungry.
Are you a hungry boy?
I'm a hungry boy. Oh, it's raining. We have to fucking walk out there.